Hey, what's up, everyone? This is Jim LaBuda here today, and we're going to take a look at the golf swing of your 2022 PGA Champion, Justin Thomas. Now, I've got a line drawn across his belt line here, which we're going to talk about that later on, so make sure you guys stick around for the full video to make sure you see what this white line is for. But the first thing we're going to do is talk about how far Justin hits the golf ball. He's a very long driver of the golf ball and creates a lot of power for only being like 160 pounds soaking wet. So how does he hit the golf ball so far? Number one, take a look at the stance he's got here. His feet are a little bit outside of his hip line, really almost outside of his shoulder line. So he's got a really nice wide base. That's going to help him really maintain his balance during the golf swing. Too many times, especially with the driver, I see a stance that's too narrow. So when your stance is too narrow, it doesn't allow you the opportunity to shift your weight back and forth. Second thing we're going to take a look at here is his head. You can see his head is turned a little bit to the right side. So what he does in his golf swing, I want you to actually see how he turns his head. Right there, you can see how his head actually starts to rotate a little bit to the right side. He's almost looking at the golf ball out of his left eye at this point. The reason he does that allows him to really make a full shoulder turn. So if you guys struggle with a full shoulder turn, try giving that head a little bit of a turn to the right side. Just allow those shoulders to rotate a little bit more. Don't let them get to the point where you over-rotate or you lose sight of the golf ball, because that could definitely happen out there too. Okay? As we start moving his swing, right here, he's got a lot of extension in his left arm. The right arm maintains a lot of width in his golf swing, and that's what really helps him get really high hands here at the top of his swing. Now, one of the things I want to stress is if you can't get to this position in your golf swing, don't try and force this position, because this is mobility. Left shoulder, lat muscles in your back, your thoracic spine. If you're not flexible in those areas, or you have mobility issues, your hands are not going to be able to get this high in the backswing. The key to distance is making sure that you rotate your upper body completely. But if that means my hands stop back here somewhere in the swing, that's fine. The moment you start to lift your hands higher, what's going to happen is you're going to end up in a reverse pivot, and your body's going to be leaning in this direction. So now we're going to start talking about really how Justin creates a lot of the power in his swing. So I'm going to go ahead, bring him back down to setup, and I'm going to go ahead and put this line back on his belt line here. So what I want you to really notice is, again, we're going to take him to the top of the swing. There's no up and down movement here, but as he starts his downswing, he's really going to focus on his oblique muscles on his left side and his core. What he does is he really uses his core and starts pulling over to the left side. That's where he really starts opening up his hips, but he doesn't use it by spinning his hips. He uses his core muscles specifically to start this weight shift to the left side. But here's where all his distance comes from. I want you to notice what happens to his lead foot here. Justin is going to create what we call centripetal force, where his body is going to be moving in one direction this way. The club is going this way. So because the force is moving in the opposite direction, we call that centripetal force. You can see he really uses the ground for leverage here. He's pushing off of his left side. And you can see that based on the line I had there, his hip lines actually, or his belt line actually went up a couple inches. So that's where Justin creates all his speed, is by using the ground for leverage. So if you guys are looking to hit the golf ball, specifically your driver, a little bit further, create a little bit more speed, set up with a little bit wider of a base, make sure you're rotating your upper body, getting that back completely to the target, but then learn how to use the ground for leverage, specifically with that weight shift with using your core. Start the downswing, not by spinning your hips or by pulling your hips over. Really engage those core muscles, get them moving to the lead side, start using the ground for leverage. Push up off that lead side, and you're going to create a little bit more speed and get the golf ball hitting further than you ever have before.